And what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It is your friend Cheap Ludes. Ugh. 250k qualifiers are over. That's fine. It is time to talk about the market in NBA 2K23 My Team. Just got done recording the podcast for 2 hours. You definitely want to check that out. I was out here dropping some absolute hot takes, man. Congratulations to, well, they got rid of the things, actually, so I can't even see who qualified, but that's okay. That's not why we're here. We're not here to talk about the 250k tournament. We're here to talk about the market in NBA 2K23 My Team. Now, post 250k, there's always a bit of a market crash because everyone attempts to qualify and then liquefies their entire team literally right after whether they qualified or not. So, you know, we have a lot of cards to kind of discuss. We'll start with the flash forward set. As you can see, I had a productive pack opening where no top tier prizes were given whatsoever, and we'll kind of take a look at all of the cards. Bob Cousy, we'll start with him. By the way, the MT bots have finally chilled out, so the cards are a little bit cheaper than they were earlier. There was a point where you couldn't get some of these pink diamonds for under 25 because the MT bots would literally buy them up the minute they were under that price, which was trash. Now you can get them for quite a bit cheaper. You know, you can find them for like 10 to 12k in a lot of these cases. So Bob Cousy. Look at this man, Bob Cousy. Come on, dude. Look at this guy. Does he not look like the NBA representative for Kent Cigarettes? Like, come on. Now, that being said, he's not bad. He's pretty okay. I use him. It's mainly in a troll capacity, if I'm being honest. Like, I'm not necessarily using Bob Cousy because he's really, really good. I'm using Bob Cousy because it's Bob Cousy, and I think it's kind of funny. But, that being said, he's actually not that bad. People kind of weren't really giving him the most credit, being that it's Bob Cousy, and typically he's like a Chris Paul clone, but he's actually not this time. They gave him the Jaden McDaniels, I'm sorry. John Morant dribble style, like he's not the greatest card in the world, but he's like very aggressively okay. Like he's got some of the longest arms you'll kind of ever see. He's very middle of the road, I would say. Like, yes, he is fast. He can 3-hunt, like that release is really good. And the badges he does have are solid with like limitless range, amps, you know, Agent 3. And the fact that he's only 6'1", like, don't let that fool you. That 6'8" wingspan, like, his arms are huge. You can contest a lot of shots with Bob Cousy. Now, that being said, does he hold a candle overall to point guards that you can buy for around the same price, like a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? No, absolutely not. I mean, Shai is definitely more expensive for sure, but I don't think Bob Cousy is a bad point guard for the amount of MT that you would spend to get him. I think overall, like, from a badge perspective, he's better than like a, you know, obviously like a Kevin Porter Jr. or something, but he's not horrible. He's just kind of okay. Then we got Bailey Howell. Bailey Howell, probably the best 3 you can get for this price point. Bailey Howell is cracked. Like, look at this dude. This dude should not play as good as he does. The DeMar DeRozan release on Quick is one of the, I wouldn't say one of the best releases in the game, but one of the smoothest and kind of easiest to time consistently releases, at least that I've used. So that's kind of a personal thing. I don't know. Either way, he moves incredibly well. That DeRozan base is very, very solid. There's nothing wrong with Bailey Howell. He's just very, very okay. Like, he rim runs so much better than you would expect. Like, if you just look at his stats, you wouldn't think that he'd be the greatest rim running card in the game. But my lord, can this man almost not be stopped in the paint? It doesn't make any sense. Just, like, looking at this dude's stats, you wouldn't think that he is this unstoppable at attacking the rim, but he barely gets contested while attacking the rim. Bailey Howell, for a budget squad, may be the best small forward in the game, or at least one of them. I'm not kidding. For 12,000 MT, I don't know if you could really do better than Bailey Howell. Like, he's a little bit small, I guess you could say, 6'7" with a 6'9" wingspan, and he looks super doofy, but man, can this guy hoop, straight up. Richie Guerin might be the most slept on card in the set. On current gen, he's okay, but on next gen, something about his movement, he moves better than almost every card in the entire game on next gen. I'm not kidding when I say that. Like, I may be overreacting in certain aspects, but I really don't think I am when it comes to Richie Guerin in this case. Like, he moves so well. It's kind of crazy. Like, at the end of the day, 6'4", he looks a wee bit bigger than 6'4", though. Like, he does. He looks like he's maybe 6'5" or 6'6" or something. But like Gold Limitless, he moves incredibly well. The Evan Fournier release isn't the greatest, but it's really easy to green, honestly. I wish it was a little faster, but whatever. Trey Young dribble style, like his dribble moves are fantastic. Richie Guerin, I'm going to stand firm on this. If Richie Guerin had came out, let's say 2 weeks ago, so he had dropped in either the Tis the Season set or the Zen set, he would have been Luol Deng prices when he first dropped. I'm not kidding when I say that. Richie Guerin probably would have been the best shooting guard or one of the best shooting guards in the game at that point. Outside of like, Dr. J and guys you can grind for. Like he would have been up there for sure if he came out just a few weeks prior. He's that good. I'm not kidding when I say that. I might be over exaggerating Richie Guerin, but he's kind of nice with it. Like honestly, JoJo White's just kind of there. He's like aggressively okay. Like Paul George's release is really easy to green. It just doesn't feel right in my opinion. They won't let him get Agent 3, which kind of sucks. But other than that, like he is very okay. Just like Bob Cousy, he's not going to like wow you. But if you're looking for a budget point guard that you can pick up for relatively cheap, like JoJo White will be able to do it. And he's a little bit bigger too. Wayne Embry was the one that everyone was the most hyped on. And I don't know. I'm not really too gassed on Wayne Embry. I tried to run him for a little bit. I think the release is solid. Like the D-Lo release on quick on a big man isn't terrible. He looks 6'8", honestly. Like if he could play the small forward, I feel like people would probably talk about him in a more positive regard. Because he does have like Michael Jordan dribble style, like Damian Lillard's on the back and stuff. So he can't move. He just doesn't really have the stats to kind of back it up. But he's fast. He plays very lockdown defense. He has some of the best tendencies in the entire game. Once again, he may be a bit undersized, but I just feel like for the price point you can get him at, which is at like 20K, I'm not sure if you can get too many overall better power forwards. Now that being said, is it probably more meta to run someone, let's say like a Jonathan Isaac? Yeah, probably. Jonathan Isaac's probably a little bit better, but you can get Bailey Howell. You can get Embry for relatively cheap. And his jump shot is clean too. I don't know. It's kind of weird though. Sometimes I feel like I don't like it. Other times I feel like I can't miss. It's just like a weird situation with him. Then we got Cincinnati's Powell. Powell is the top tier guy. Like this is the pink diamond that everyone was gassing. Although he is a fantastic defensive card, he is. Most people are probably just going to use him as a 3-and-D small forward. And I think that kind of betrays how good he really is. To a certain extent, like I'm not good enough, and I understand that, to really abuse his Chris Paul dribble style and the way he moves, like other people are able to. But the Luka Doncic release on Very Quick is quite easy to green, I would say. I think Luka's release this year is easy to green. It's just on the slower side. And his combination of stats and badges, like Powell is really, really good. I was actually shocked. I didn't expect him to be as good as he actually is. He is my starting 3. He's a little bit more expensive for sure, so I'm not sure if it's necessarily worth it to pick him up, but Powell's nice. Okay, now let's get to the expensive cards. Dissinger is cracked. Now, is he better than Dr. J? No. I'm going to start by saying that. I do not believe he is better than Dr. J. I've seen some people say that. I don't personally believe that to be the case. Dissinger is very good, obviously. They crack Terry D out every single time they put him in the game. It shouldn't really be a surprise. Is it worth spending, what, 500K basically, or like 400, 500K for Terry Dissinger? Depending on the team, sure, but I'm not really sure regardless. Is that a 25 Hoff Terry Dissinger that's ending at 6 o'clock on qual day? Oh boy. Still getting a mil though, it doesn't really matter. Then we got Cassie Russell. I feel like Cassie Russell is one of those cards where a lot of people are going to pick up Cassie Russell but then not know how to use him properly. So it just kind of depends if you're comfortable with, dribbling, really. If you can dribble properly, like Cassie Russell is up there for sure with Chris Paul dribble style, which is, I think we're figuring out a lot better than people would have initially thought. Damian Lillard's behind the back. The Kobe escape people don't like, but whatever, it is what it is. He's what I would consider a specialist card. If you're able to kind of like use his SIGs properly with that LaMelo release, you're going to have a lot of success. Bob Nedelicki is the best power forward in the game. I don't think anyone could really argue that. It's really wild to me that this doofy looking man consistently is like a god in 2K. I kind of love it at the same time though, honestly. George Mikan actually might be one of the more slept on cards in this set. And I'm being serious about that. Like George Mikan is really good. That Devin Booker release, I personally like it a lot. Also, that vertical is huge. He out rebounds like a lot of cards you would expect him not to out rebound. It doesn't make any sense. He shouldn't be this good, but he is. 6'10", he looks a little bit bigger than that. The only issue and the only knock on him is he can't get limitless. Which, like, you can green with Devin Booker's release for sure. He also can't get clamp breaker, and he doesn't have quick first step, so you're going to see a lot of people kind of sway away from him. But if you're in the position to have this guy or have the MT to pick him up and you're looking for like an elite option at the center, like, you would actually be surprised. Like, George Mikan might be your guy. I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's the best center in the game, because he's definitely not. Not even going to tell you he's necessarily like a top 3 center, but is he a very fun card to use? Yes, for sure. Dolph Shays. Okay. He's like the second best power forward in the game, I guess, is what people are saying, and I would, probably agree with them. In addition to having just the longest face humanly possible, I think, like, if he's not in the Guinness records for having the longest face ever, I would be shocked, because in the game, like, it's crazy how big his face is. I know that's a weird thing to fixate on, and I know people hate my little comments, but, like, dude, just pay attention to it. Jesus, it looks awful. Like, he looks in pain. Like, he looks like his face is trying to leave his body. It's wild. Dolph Shays is very good. Though, is it worth it for a lot of people to pay, what? 200, 300K for what could essentially be a bench power forward if you're already running Bob Nedelicki or something? No, probably not. Don Ole is probably the best point guard in the game, or at least one of them. He is a god. Like, he is a god. I was watching a lot of qualifier gameplay today, and yes, you have to take that stuff with a grain of salt, because, those are guys who are incredibly good at the game, right? So watching them do things with certain players, you kind of have to look at it and be like, okay, that's really cool and everything, but would I be able to do the same? With Don Ole, he is a rim running nightmare, dude. This guy is ridiculous. Like, he booms on everybody. He plays super tight defense. His jump shot is really easy to hit. He's got the Derrick Rose base on quick, which is fantastic. Like, Don Ole is the real deal. Straight up, Don Ole, he is what I would consider and I mean this in like a nice way, not a skill-based card. And when I say that, I don't mean that if you're skilled and you use Don Ole, you're not as skilled, or you can't, like, unlock his potential or something. What I'm saying is, like, you could take Don Ole and suck, and he will make you better instantaneously. That is Don Ole, and he is so good. Now, that being said, are any of these guys worth picking up? Yeah, I think a lot of people would benefit from picking up Richie Guerin for like how cheap he is. Bailey Howell, I would say 100% is worth picking up for the price. Cincinnatus is iffy. It just kind of depends what you're trying to do. Like, he's worth it to a certain extent, but I mean, if you're just going to go like bop domination or play offline, I don't know if it's worth paying 55 for a card. Wayne Embry is very meh. Same with JoJo White and Bob Cousy. Like, I have fun running Bob Cousy. The opals are all really expensive. Now, other than that, you can find a lot of other cards that are going to be a lot cheaper than they were just a few days ago, because people are getting rid of, and like purging. I don't know why I said it like that. Like purging their 250k qualifier team. So guys like Luol Deng, you can find badged up versions of these guys, which is something you definitely want to look out for if you're interested in picking these cards up. Even lower tier cards, you'll find badged up versions of like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, because people were definitely still running Shai. So kind of look at the market average, and if you see a card that's got a few Hoffs on them for right around the same price, I mean, it might be worth to just kind of pull the trigger on that. Like, if I see a Shai with like 7 or 8 Hoff badges going for 30k, and I'm only going to lose a couple thousand on an upgraded version, I'm probably going to pull the trigger on that. Stuff like that. You're also going to find like a lot of like LeBrons and stuff up for a little bit less than normal. You want to wait till tomorrow too. A lot of people kind of just rage and raid sell their team. So, I don't know. You're going to find some decent come-ups over the next couple of days for sure. We've already seen a lot of cards fall off in value. The one thing I will say, though, is we are coming upon Season 4. And if this set right here has shown us anything, it's that power scaling is probably going to be blown out of the water relatively soon. So, maybe pump the brakes on buying any older cards, because I don't know if it's necessarily going to be beneficial to pick up someone like who's a good option. Like, I think Penny will still be good, so he's not really like a good person to talk about. But like LeBron with a normal jump shot, they're probably going to give us one with a jump shot on quick relatively soon. I'm not going to lie, we got like 9 LeBrons already. They're not going to stop anytime soon. So kind of just pump the brakes. I would say, you know, pick up a few cards if you're interested. Some lower tier guys like a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, some of these flash forward guys that I think will still be good. Decent amount of time into season 4, and then just like coast. As always, I've been your friend Cheap Ludes, and I will see you guys later. Peace.